The pavilion was built with azure jade tiles, its exterior exuding a sense of ancient wear, as though it had endured the passage of countless eons. Some of the green stones had already turned gray. Vines, thick and twisting, stretched out from the gaps in the pavilion structure, densely covering it. Along these vines, purple flowers bloomed at intervals, exuding a mysterious and alluring fragrance. Beneath this pavilion lay a massive array that enveloped the entire platform, placing the spirit appraisal pavilion at its center. From a distance, the array appeared as though it was split into two opposing sides, interwoven in such a way that it emitted a sense of chaos. Within the array, three powerful auras roamed, seemingly on the verge of breaking the formation. These three auras transformed into long white streaks that moved within the array, but strangely, they never collided with one another. Outside the pavilion, a middle-aged man sat cross-legged. He wore black robes, his eyebrows sharp like swords, his complexion as pale as jade. 3 strands of long beard hung from his chin, swaying as if caught by an invisible wind, giving him the appearance of a sage. His cultivation was completely concealed. Unless one was more powerful, it was difficult to discern his strength. Sitting there, his face showed no emotion, as if he paid no heed to the world around him. His entire focus was on the object resting upon his knees. On his knees lay a 7-foot-long sword, its blade a deep green, emitting a faint glow. Under the sunlight, the surrounding area was bathed in the greenish hue. Wang Lin stood several dozen feet away from the spirit appraisal pavilion, his gaze calm as he observed the man seated outside the pavilion. This man's cultivation has reached the perfect late spirit transformation stage, yet there is a deeply concealed sword intent within him, Wang Lin thought. At that moment, the middle-aged man opened his eyes. Upon seeing Wang Lin in the distance, he paused in surprise, then immediately stood and respectfully cupped his hands, saying, "Disciple Zhang Xiangfan greets the 7th ancestor." The green sword, as he rose, transformed into a streak of green light and vanished into his body. Wang Lin's gaze fell upon Zhang Xiangfan's forehead. After a moment of contemplation, he said calmly, "May I take a look at your flying sword?" Zhang Xiangfan was momentarily stunned, then nodded, replying, "My flying sword is nothing special. I obtained it in a market at the foot of the mountain. There's nothing extraordinary about it, but if the 7th ancestor wishes to see it, of course, you may." With that, he touched his forehead with his right hand and chanted softly. A green light flashed from his brow, transforming into a 7-foot sword that emitted the sound of ringing swords. Wang Lin's gaze remained steady as he extended his right hand, and with a slight motion, the green sword was drawn toward him from the air. He examined it carefully. As soon as Zhang Xiangfan had stored the flying sword, the faint sword intent that had surrounded him vanished without a trace. Now, Wang Lin could clearly see that the sword intent did not originate from Zhang Xiangfan, but from the flying sword itself. With his left hand gently stroking the green sword, Wang Lin's mind trembled. To an ordinary person, the sword's intent might go unnoticed, and even if detected, it would merely be seen as an unusual feature of the sword. However, when Wang Lin sensed the sword intent, an overwhelming familiarity washed over him. "Zhou-yi," Wang Lin murmured softly. The sword intent emanating from the flying sword was unmistakably that of Zhou-yi, who had once transformed into a sword soul. Zhou-yi had pursued the sword Venerable Ling Tian home many years ago, but news of him had disappeared without a trace. This was the first time Wang Lin had sensed Zhou-yi's sword intent. If it hadn't been for his own long-term cultivation of Zhou-yi's Dao intent with the help of the tower, he would never have recognized the source of the sword intent so quickly. The sword intent within the flying sword was faint, but as Wang Lin focused on it, he remained silent for a moment. Then, with a swipe of his right hand, the green color of the sword deepened. A flash of green light flew out, transforming into a tiny green star that hovered before Wang Lin. Looking at the star, Wang Lin sighed softly, then grasped it in his hand. He turned to Zhang Xiangfan, who appeared bewildered, and said, "This sword contains the sword intent of an old friend. I shall take it, but I will not leave you empty-handed. Here, take this jade slip. Inside it, you'll find 18 restriction seals. If you imprint them onto any flying sword of inferior quality, It will greatly enhance its power. With that, Wang Lin took a storage pouch from his waist, pulled out a jade slip, and tossed it to Zhang Xiangfan. As for the green flying sword, Wang Lin returned it as well. Although Zhang Xiangfan appeared respectful on the surface, there was a hint of regret in his eyes as he received the jade slip. He had no expectations at first, but as his spiritual sense scanned the jade slip, his body shook, and a look of astonishment appeared on his face. After a moment, he raised his head, looked at Wang Lin, and respectfully said, "Thank you, seventh ancestor." Zhang Xiangfan had experienced much in his cultivation journey, and he could immediately tell that these 18 restrictions were extraordinary. All 18 were offensive restrictions, and what was even more important, they could actually be stacked, which was a rare occurrence. Zhang Xiangfan suppressed the excitement in his heart. He couldn't help but wish he could enter seclusion right away and imprint these 18 restrictions onto his flying sword. Once the restrictions were stacked, among peers at the late spirit transformation stage, he would have nothing to fear. These 18 restrictions were only 2 out of the 19 sets Wang Lin had been pondering since comprehending the Skylark Straw Hat. To reach the 9,999 sets of restrictions for the Soul Banner, these were nowhere near enough. "I'm here to collect Immortal Jade," Wang Lin said directly without further explanation. Zhang Xiangfan quickly nodded and said, "Each of the 7 ancestral masters receives a quota of 100 Immortal Jade per month. Please give me the command token, and I will open the teleportation for you." Upon hearing this, Wang Lin waved his right hand, and the command token flew toward Zhang Xiangfan. Zhang Xiangfan caught it and respectfully took a few steps back. He looked down at the ground, calculating for a moment with his fingers. After a short while, his eyes flashed, and he suddenly pressed the token to the ground. Wang Lin clearly saw that the spot where Zhang Xiangfan pressed was precisely where the 3 white streaks intersected within the formation. The moment the token touched the ground, the 3 white streaks suddenly surged toward this spot, and a deafening roar sounded. Zhang Xiangfan could not hold onto the token and was forced back several steps, stumbling. However, the token floated in midair, and the 3 white streaks shot from the ground, weaving through the token at an ever-increasing speed. Eventually, they were nothing but streaks of light almost blending together into a single blur. After a few breaths, the token suddenly emitted a brilliant purple light. The light exploded outward, and the 3 white streaks immediately howled as they fused together and shot out of the token. They flew toward the distant spirit appraisal pavilion, stopping at the 7th floor where they formed a massive light gate. Zhang Xiangfan quickly said respectfully, "Seventh ancestor, please hold the token and enter." Wang Lin did not say a word. With a step forward, he grabbed the token from the air, and his body transformed into a long rainbow, flying directly into the 7th floor. The light gate clearly had teleportation powers. The moment Wang Lin stepped into it, the world before him blurred. When his vision cleared, he found himself in a world resembling an immortal realm. Fragrant flowers bloomed everywhere, the sound of water gently flowing, and colorful clouds filled the sky. Occasionally, a celestial crane would fly past. In midair, the colorful clouds quickly merged to form a giant figure. The figure's face could not be seen clearly, but a powerful surge of immortal energy radiated from it. "Token!" A majestic voice echoed from the giant's mouth. Wang Lin's gaze remained calm as he flicked the token in his hand. A whistling sound filled the air as the token flew toward the giant. The token paused right before the giant, and with a loud crash, it transformed into shimmering light particles and merged into the giant's body. After a short while, the giant's voice resounded again. "The 7th child of the purple lineage has not collected Immortal Jade for 103 years. Do you wish to take them all at once?" Wang Lin was momentarily stunned. Even with his composure, his heart was shaken. Taking a deep breath, he said in a deep voice, "Take them all. 123,600 pieces." The giant's voice echoed, and with a sudden burst, pieces of Immortal Jade flew from its body. They quickly piled up in front of Wang Lin, forming a mountain of jade within 10 paces. Wang Lin stared at the Immortal Jade that piled up at a visible speed, his throat dry. He had never imagined that the Tianyun sect would have such a vast amount of Immortal Jade. If a disciple had been absent for tens of thousands of years, would the amount of Immortal Jade be inconceivably large? This is supposed to be rare, but why does Tianyun's sect have so much? Wang Lin took a deep breath. The pile of Immortal Jade before him was already massive. He felt a flash of brilliance in his eyes, opened his storage pouch, and quickly began collecting the jade. After completing this, he patted the storage pouch, still feeling a sense of unreality. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. No wonder others thought of him as a native cultivator. Even with his current composure, he was still too easily swayed. Over 100,000 pieces of Immortal Jade had already made him envious. If anyone had stopped him from collecting it, Wang Lin would have acted without hesitation. He took a deep breath, his mind gradually clearing, recovering from the shock of the Immortal Jade. At this moment, the giant figure in the sky gradually began to dissipate, transforming back into colorful clouds. Sparkling fragments of light flickered through the air and merged into a new token, which flew toward Wang Lin like lightning. Wang Lin raised his right hand, catching the token. In an instant, an invisible force pushed him backward, sending him flying several dozen paces before vanishing from sight. Wang Lin sped through the air, crashing forward with reckless abandon toward the Violet Forest Pavilion. At this moment, he had enough Immortal Jade, and he planned to enter closed-door cultivation. His goal was to absorb all of it within 3 months and reach the mid-infant metamorphosis stage, so he could compete for the title of one of the 7 children of heavenly destiny. Wang Lin moved at an incredibly fast speed, the sound of thunder following him. In the quiet Violet Sect Mountain, it sounded particularly jarring. At this moment, in an elegant bamboo pavilion along the path he had flown over, 3 elders were seated. All 3 were law enforcement elders of the Violet Sect. One of them looked up in the direction Wang Lin had disappeared, snorted in dissatisfaction, and said, "This Wang Lin is too arrogant to move at such speed within the Violet Sect." The elder beside him shook his head and said, "As long as the disciple of the Ancestor Lord doesn't commit any treasonous acts, we should generally leave them be. Although his cultivation is not high, his battle experience is rich. Even if the 3 of us teamed up, we'd likely only be able to match him at best." The last elder, holding a purple jade teacup, took a sip and said in a deep voice, "This matter need not concern us. Among the Ancestor Lord's disciples, their internal struggles are extremely fierce. Haven't we seen enough of this over the 1,000 years in the Tianyun sect?" The 3 fell silent. Wang Lin continued his flight, and not long later, he arrived at the Violet Forest Pavilion. His body flickered and landed smoothly on the ground, like a long rainbow streaking across the sky. As soon as he landed, his expression shifted, and he turned to look into the distance. There, he saw a long rainbow suddenly appear in the sky, speeding toward him. The rainbow curved in the air, dissipating to reveal a woman in the mid-infant metamorphosis stage. This was none other than the 4th senior sister. At the same time, on Wang Lin's left, a ripple of energy flashed, and Zhao Xingsha, with a gentle expression, stepped forward. On his right, a low growl was heard, and a middle-aged man, the 2nd-ranked disciple of the Violet lineage, appeared with a grim expression. Wang Lin remained calm, his gaze indifferent as he looked at the 3 and said slowly, "Why hide in the shadows, fellow Taoists? Come out." He wasn't sensing anyone else, but had deduced that there must be an external ally given the confidence of the 3 in front of him. No sooner had he spoken, a long laugh echoed from the void above. A blue figure suddenly appeared in midair, a young man who appeared to be in his 30s. However, as a cultivator, age was not determined by appearance, and everything was merely superficial. This person wore a blue robe, with 3 blue dragons embroidered on his chest. The dragons were fierce and lifelike, as though they could spring to life at any moment. Their eyes gleamed with a menacing aura. Heavenly Fate Sect, Blue Lineage, 3rd rank, Sima Rufong. The man smiled gently and, after appearing, immediately fixed his gaze on Wang Lin. Mid-infant metamorphosis stage. A bit stronger than 4th senior sister, likely a perfected late-stage cultivator. Wang Lin's pupils shrank ever so slightly. "Junior brother Wang Lin, although we're not from the same lineage, I've heard of your name. Today, I'll introduce a senior brother to you. Senior brother Wang, please come out and meet him." Sima Rufeng smiled slightly and spoke loudly. Humph. An icy voice echoed from the void, carrying a chilling air. It entered Wang Lin's ears as he slowly turned around. He saw a figure standing several dozen feet behind him, with no indication of when they had arrived. The person wore a green robe and stood there like a statue of ancient ice, radiating an aura of coldness. He gave Wang Lin a cold glance before closing his eyes and focusing on meditation. In that glance, there was an overwhelming sense of indifference, as if Wang Lin didn't even deserve his attention. Not yet at the peak, but already half a step in. Wang Lin's expression darkened. The five of them here had a clear purpose. Taking a deep breath, he placed his hand on his storage pouch. At this moment, the fourth senior sister, a beautiful woman from the violet lineage, revealed a helpless expression. She softly spoke, "Seventh brother, I'm forced to act by someone's order. Please forgive me." Saying so, she formed a hand seal and chanted softly. Suddenly, a silver glow burst out from her body, spreading rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it covered the entire area within 10 miles. Forbidden technique, teleportation. Her voice rang out, and the silver glow trembled and flickered violently before vanishing, leaving no trace behind. Along with her disappearance, so did Wang Lin. Far from the Tianyun sect, tens of thousands of miles away, there was a vast stone forest, densely packed with towering stone pillars like a forest of swords rising from the earth, piercing the sky. From a distance, it appeared extremely desolate, and a murderous aura filled the air, emanating from the strange stones, intertwining to form a vast and terrifying killing flame. At that moment, above the stone forest, waves of silver radiance suddenly appeared. The silver light grew more and more intense until it blanketed a 10-mile radius in shimmering silver. This area was quite desolate. Even if cultivators passed by, they were mostly lone wanderers. Now, seeing the distant silver glow, they either avoided it or observed from afar. None dared approach. Deep within the silver light, two figures appeared, a man and a woman. The woman had a delicate beauty, dressed in violet robes, resembling an immortal maiden. Her long black hair flowed behind her, enhancing her gentle, graceful aura. The man also wore violet robes. His features were ordinary, but his eyes glinted with cold light. He stood tall and straight, like a solitary pine tree, proud and unyielding. Fourth senior sister's teleportation divine art is truly an eye-opener, Wang Lin said calmly, his gaze flickering. Earlier, when she unleashed this divine ability, Wang Lin immediately sensed the surrounding space turn dense, as if filled with molten lead, making it utterly impossible to teleport away. What's more, for killing intents locked onto him. If he made even the slightest move, they would strike instantly and relentlessly. These four killing intents came from Zhao Xingsha outside the Violet Forest Pavilion, second senior brother, and members of the Azure and Blue lineages. Their purpose wasn't to kill Wang Lin, but to intimidate. With their combined force, Wang Lin dared not act recklessly, so he simply let them bring him here via teleportation. If seventh brother takes a liking to this divine ability, once everything is settled, I'll pass it on to you. But for now, I want you to remain quiet here, in seclusion for 3 years. When that time is up, I'll personally release you. Fourth senior sister said calmly, looking at Wang Lin. Wang Lin remained composed and glanced around. The place was filled with strange, massive rocks, some of which were carved with deep grooves by powerful spells, clearly part of a formation or restriction seal. Such a petty formation, you think it can hold me? Wang Lin's eyes flashed. With a wave of his hand, a beam of white light materialized into a sword of light and shot toward a nearby rock. But before the sword could travel 100 feet, it suddenly dimmed and then disintegrated into sparkling fragments. Wang Lin frowned. Junior brother, this formation was set up by eldest senior brother himself. Without absolute certainty, would he dare leave you here unsupervised? Don't waste your effort, fourth senior sister sighed softly. Her figure turned into a streak of silver light and flew out of the glowing barrier. She turned back to look at Wang Lin one last time and murmured, Eldest senior brother, the favor owed from those years has now been repaid. From now on, there is nothing between us. With that, she soared into the distance, heading toward the Tianyun sect. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, watching her vanish from view. A glint of cold light rose within them. He touched his storage pouch, and an immortal sword appeared in his hand. With a swift sweep, a blade of sword energy, several feet wide, roared through the air, slashing toward the void nearby. At first, the sword energy was fierce and thunderous, but as it flew, its strength quickly waned. Within 3 breaths, it dissipated completely. Wang Lin stood silent for a moment, then suddenly shot upward. But as he ascended, he felt a heavy pressure pressing down from above, blocking his ascent. The resistance intensified, soon becoming overwhelming. Wang Lin growled lowly and pushed forward even harder, ascending several hundred feet. From afar, one could see a violet figure shooting into the sky from the stone forest, but above him, a silver light veil remained locked in place. As he rose, it stretched with him, forming a convex dome. Veins bulged on Wang Lin's forehead. With another low growl, he pushed several more feet upward. Now, the pressure he faced was equivalent to a full-force attack from a late infant metamorphosis stage cultivator. Wang Lin's face turned pale. His body rebounded like a shooting star, falling at an unimaginable speed toward the ground. Just a few dozen feet above the earth, he twisted his body, neutralizing the impact, and landed atop a stone. His expression was dark as he silently stared at the sky. After a while, he slapped his storage pouch. An immortal sword flew out. Wang Lin pointed forward, and Su Ligua, within the sword, instantly understood. With a howl, he charged madly in the direction Wang Lin indicated. Behind him, the crescent blade followed close. Sword and blade shot toward the sky, piercing the air with a shriek. The pressure came again, even greater than before, like the heavens collapsing. Su Ligua's miserable cry rang out. "Master, it's no use. I can't break through this damned thing. The little blade's not strong enough either." Wang Lin's gaze flickered. With a wave of his right hand, the immortal sword flew back to him, and the crescent blade circled around the sword, emitting sharp ringing sounds as if it were reluctant to part. "They want to trap me here. Wait until the contest for the 7 Celestial Fates titles is over, and then release me? I can't let them have their way. Since this place is desolate, I'll use this opportunity to cultivate and strive to reach the mid-infant metamorphosis stage as quickly as possible. At that point, I'll surely be able to break out of here and head straight to the Tianyun sect." Wang Lin's body shifted, and he jumped off the stone slab, heading straight into the depths of the stone forest. This boundary was encompassed by a silver light screen, within which Wang Lin couldn't break free. He simply sat cross-legged atop a stone stalagmite, then slapped his storage pouch. Instantly, a large amount of Immortal Jade transformed into a series of white glows, flying and swirling around him. From a distance, Wang Lin, at the very center of those Immortal Jades, appeared incredibly dazzling. Wang Lin's gaze sharpened as he formed a hand seal and pointed toward the void ahead. Immediately, one of the Immortal Jades flying around him shot out and landed before his finger. As his finger touched the Immortal Jade, a series of cracking sounds rang out. The jade cracked, turning from milky white to gray, before completely dimming. With a sharp snap, it shattered into powder, falling through the air. Before it could hit the ground, the breeze created by the swirling Immortal Jades carried it away, scattering it across the ground. One Immortal Jade shattered, and another flew in. At this moment, Wang Lin's index finger glowed like a bright flame in the night sky, while the Immortal Jades were like moths, recklessly rushing toward it. 1, 2, 3, 4. A multitude of Immortal Jades was absorbed by Wang Lin's immortal power, turning into dust. This process didn't stop, it continued unceasingly. Wang Lin's actions remained unchanged. His right index finger constantly absorbed immortal power, integrating it into his body, where it fused with his own immortal energy. Time passed slowly, and here, Wang Lin lost all sense of time, focusing entirely on his breathing and the absorption of immortal power. Gradually, behind Wang Lin, a golden halo began to materialize. This halo radiated a soft glow, with immortal power swirling within it, exuding an overwhelming dominance. This immortal halo could only form once the immortal power within one's body had reached saturation. Incorporating it into the body allowed for an increase in immortal power, like having reinforcements, reducing concerns in battle. Wang Lin didn't stop his breathing exercises, but continued without pause. At this point, the swirling immortal jades around him had dwindled, and with a flicker of his mind, a large amount of immortal jades flew out of his storage pouch, sweeping through the air in a swirling and whistling motion. At this moment, Wang Lin's gaze grew deep, as if clouds and smoke were rolling within it. He stared at the remaining immortal jades. Then, after a brief moment of contemplation, he suddenly took a deep breath. With this breath, the immortal jades surrounding him immediately began to collapse from the innermost layer. This collapse rapidly spread outward, expanding in a matter of moments. As the immortal jades shattered, boundless immortal power was released, and all of it, without exception, gathered frantically toward Wang Lin. As the immortal power entered his body, Wang Lin's gaze flashed, and he fully focused on his breathing exercises. 3 months quickly passed, and the entire Tianyun star was about to witness an event that occurred once every 10,000 years, the 10,000-year birthday of Tianyunzi. Tianyunzi celebrated his birthday once every 10,000 years, and to this day, few knew how many times he had actually celebrated it. But without exception, on each birthday, the entire Tianyun star was immersed in a golden age, and even the Cultivation Alliance would send emissaries to deliver congratulatory gifts. This was something even the 7th-level cultivation stars rarely achieved, and only Tianyunzi could do it. A month prior, the entire purple mist formation outside Tianyun star had been dismantled, transformed into a purple mist belt. A large number of Tianyun sect disciples were sent out to welcome guests from all directions. Apart from outsiders, local cultivators of Tianyun star also embarked on their journey to Tianyun sect to offer their congratulatory gifts. The 5 smaller stars surrounding Tianyun star also saw a large number of cultivators traveling to the main star to celebrate Tianyunzi's birthday. Even the old monsters who occupied distant small cultivation stars personally entered Tianyun star. It could be said that everyone on Tianyun star, from every sect and every cultivator, knew about this grand event. Over the course of the month, Tianyun sect's 7 branches opened up many residences to accommodate the visitors. Tianyunzi's 7 lineage disciples were all busy, as many people from other sects and cultivation stars came to visit. Naturally, some exchanges and conversations were unavoidable. In such a prosperous era, those who came to offer their congratulations were no weaklings, and through these exchanges, both sides gained much. On this day, the one in charge of guarding the purple mist belt outside the star was Zhao Xingsha, the eldest senior brother of the purple lineage. He wore a purple robe embroidered with golden thread, a warm jade spirit pendant at his waist, and carried an ancient sword on his back. He appeared very cultured, and his gentle expression made him instantly likable to those who looked upon him. At this moment, he stood within the purple mist, gazing down at the destiny star with a faint smile on his lips, muttering to himself, "This is the first time I've encountered my master's longevity banquet in such grandeur. I've made many friends, especially the young sect master of the Cloud Silk sect. His cultivation is impressive, and his personality seems to align with mine. It's a pity, though. 7th brother won't be able to make it. Old 7, we had no grievances or hatred between us, but you made the grave mistake of competing with me for the title of the 7 children of heavenly destiny. When my master's longevity banquet comes, it will mark the moment the 7 children of heavenly destiny appear within our violet lineage. 2nd brother has already given up. 3rd brother isn't even worth considering. As for 4th sister, if she dares to compete, I have my methods to deal with her. 5th brother has been punished by our master and sent into the heavenly prison to meditate for 100 years. 6th brother is out training, and his return is uncertain. With all this in mind, the title of the 7 children of heavenly destiny is mine." Zhao Xingsha's eyes gleamed with a strange light as he smiled faintly. Suddenly, the purple mist around him began to swirl violently. Zhao Xingsha's expression shifted, and his face once again wore a friendly demeanor as he looked into the distance. In the far distance, a colossal golden war chariot slowly approached. The chariot was enormous, towering over 1,000 feet, entirely golden, with countless sharp spikes protruding from its surface. Beneath it were 4 massive demonic beasts, their enormous forms bearing the chariot, enabling it to travel at such incredible speed. Before it even got close, a tremendous rumbling sound echoed, and a fierce roar came from the four beasts. The four demonic beasts were incredibly large, with immense strength. Though they didn't possess any extraordinary abilities, they could fly through the starry sky for short periods. They should not be underestimated. On top of the chariot stood 10 figures, all clad in silver robes, their faces expressionless, their eyes cold. They stood at the 10 positions around the chariot. At the very center of the chariot was a massive seat, where a person lay. This person was exceedingly corpulent, resembling a large ball as they reclined, but their skin was translucent and gleamed like crystal, dazzling anyone who looked at it. Zhao Xingxia recognized the identity of this person the instant he saw the chariot. He sucked in a sharp breath and quickly stepped forward, respectfully saying, "Junior Zhao Xingxia of the Tianyun sect's violet lineage, greets Senior Golden Demon Lord." The Golden War Chariot halted 100 feet away from Zhao Xingxia, and a powerful pressure immediately locked onto him, particularly from the four demonic beasts, whose fierce eyes glared at Zhao Xingxia. A low growl emanated from their throats, and saliva dripped from their mouths. The 10 figures in silver robes on the chariot remained cold and silent, their eyes fixed on Zhao Xingxia. Cold sweat beaded on Zhao Xingxia's forehead. He knew the identity of the Golden Demon Lord all too well, which made him lose his composure for a moment. The Golden Demon Lord was a venerable figure from a small star outside the Destiny Star. He ruled this star with absolute dominance. Anyone who offended him would face brutal retaliation, and he was known for being extremely protective and hot-tempered. He would kill at the slightest provocation, and countless people had died at his hands. Moreover, this man's cultivation was beyond compare. Except for a handful of people, no one could restrain him. Rumor had it that the Golden Demon Lord had reached a level of cultivation beyond the illusion and reality dual intent, reaching the legendary stage. "Why are you standing there like a fool? Lead the way." The man who resembled a large ball frowned and barked. Zhao Xingxia took a deep breath, his face regaining its usual warmth as he respectfully said, "Please, Senior." He waved his hand, and immediately, the surrounding purple mist parted to reveal a long passage. Under Zhao Xingxia's guidance, the enormous Golden War Chariot slowly made its way toward Destiny Star. This was an everyday occurrence on Destiny Star, where powerful cultivators from various cultivation stars would arrive. As they did, the entire Tianyun sect was filled with whispers. Occasionally, sparring would take place, but there was always restraint, and nothing too severe ever happened. The entire territory of the 7 sects of Tianyun sect, spanning tens of thousands of miles, was occupied by beautiful pavilions. These pavilions were built over the course of several months using magical power, specifically to serve as resting places for the guests attending the longevity banquet. If one were to look down from the sky, they would see a mountain in the center of Destiny Star. This mountain was where the main entrance of Tianyun sect's headquarters stood. Surrounding the mountain were 7 stars emitting 7-colored light. These 7 stars represented the 7 sects of Tianyun sect. On the outermost layer were countless pavilions, densely packed, stretching as far as the eye could see, with no end in sight. Every time Tianyunzi celebrated his 10,000-year birthday, the number of guests was unimaginable. However, only 100 or so people could enter the main mountain of Tianyun sect, and sometimes it was even fewer, just dozens. As more guests arrived, the day of Tianyunzi's birthday finally approached. On this day, the sky was clear with not a cloud in sight, and the vast blue waters stretched endlessly. Gentle winds brushed the face, carrying the sweet fragrance of flowers and grass. At the Tianyun sect, there were 8 locations for the longevity banquet: red, orange, yellow, green, azure, blue, and purple. These 7 sects each held their own banquet. In addition to the banquets of these 7 sects, at the main sect of Tianyun, there was the true longevity banquet of Tianyunzi. Those who could sit here were no ordinary figures. At the very least, Golden Demon Lord had no chance of participating. With his status, he could only attend the banquet of the Crimson Sect. The surroundings were extremely quiet. Suddenly, the man sharply opened his eyes. In the midst of the blur, 2 ghostly lights emerged, resembling the full moon. In that instant, the sky seemed to change color. Countless clouds wildly spread outward, revealing a clear sky. The man raised his hands and pressed them into the surrounding void. Immediately, the dense aura surrounding his body surged like a furious wave, violently stirring up the clouds, and eventually expanding wildly in all directions. The sound of cracking echoed endlessly. The stone forest around him, from inside to outside, was filled with countless cracks. Gradually, the cracking grew louder, and finally, with a series of booming sounds, the stone forest collapsed, turning into lime that scattered into the air. In the blink of an eye, within a 10-mile radius, only one stone stalagmite remained standing. This single stalagmite was where the long-haired man sat cross-legged. His eyes gleamed with brilliant light, and he opened his mouth, inhaling deeply. The dense aura that had spread out over 10 miles around him was immediately sucked back in, quickly funneling into his mouth like a vortex. This scene resembled a cloud dragon swallowing mist or a giant whale devouring the sea. When the last trace of the aura was swallowed, the long-haired man suddenly raised his head and let out a shocking howl that shook the heavens. As the howl echoed, the man staggered, standing up from the stone stalagmite. His figure was not tall, but under the moonlight, he appeared to stand firm, as if towering above the world, leaving a lasting impression on anyone who saw him. Violet Sect. I'm coming, the man murmured softly. He was none other than Wang Lin. His gaze calm, Wang Lin took a step forward, and in an instant, his body vanished from the stone stalagmite. When he reappeared, he was hundreds of feet in the air. The silver screen that enveloped the surroundings immediately exerted great resistance, blocking his ascent. At this moment, he was at the highest point he had reached 3 months ago. Flying any higher would be incredibly difficult, yet now, Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged, and his speed not only did not slow down but increased. He shot up like a meteor, piercing the clouds. As a result, the resistance from the silver screen intensified exponentially. The pressure accumulated to a terrifying level, and Wang Lin's body briefly halted. At this point, if viewed from a distance, it would resemble a silver mountain, with Wang Lin standing at its peak. A silver screen cascaded from 3 inches above his head, forming a conical shape that reached the ground, covering a 10-mile radius. Wang Lin's expression remained calm as he raised his right thumb. Immediately, a bright light gathered around his thumb, as if the very essence of the world was being drawn away. The entire void was left with nothing but his thumb. Wang Lin's gaze flashed, and with a subtle movement of his thumb, he pressed it into the space just above his head. At the moment his thumb made contact, the silver screen suddenly flickered. The sound of cracking echoed as numerous fissures appeared. From a distance, it appeared as though the silver mountain was about to collapse. But in the blink of an eye, the cracks began to disappear one by one, and the entire screen returned to its original state. Wang Lin's gaze darkened, and with a flick of his finger, the annihilation finger was unleashed upon the screen. A loud rumble reverberated through the heavens, as if the earth itself was shaking. The silver screen trembled violently, with cracks rapidly appearing. But almost as soon as the cracks formed, the rippling light from the screen swept across, erasing them all. Wang Lin's face grew grim, and with a light snort, he raised his right index finger, his eyes glowing with a sinister light. Demon transformation finger, Wang Lin softly uttered. At that moment, ghostly lights suddenly appeared from all directions, wildly gathering toward his finger. At the same time, the immortal power within him surged, flowing toward his finger like a torrent. Situ once said that the higher one's cultivation, the greater the power of the demon transformation finger. Now, having reached the mid-infant metamorphosis stage, the power of this divine ability has increased several times, and it will surely break this formation. As Wang Lin's immortal power poured into his finger, his expression flickered between light and dark. A sinister aura suddenly manifested around him. A purple spark slowly appeared at the tip of his right index finger. A terrifying demonic aura erupted from his fingertip, spreading like wildfire. This demonic aura, purple in color, quickly engulfed the entire area within a 10-mile radius. It was as if the Demon King had emerged. At this moment, Wang Lin was exuding a demonic aura from head to toe. All of his immortal power was now transforming into demonic fire at his fingertips. This process felt completely natural to him, not uncomfortable in the slightest. In fact, it felt incredibly refreshing, an addictive sensation that lingered. Soon, the purple sparks at his fingertips grew brighter and brighter. The aura emanating from them was far more powerful than it had been 3 months ago when Wang Lin first used this divine ability. Wang Lin extended his right index finger forward, and in that instant, his finger pierced through a point 3 inches above his head, breaking through the silver veil that surrounded him. The moment his finger pierced the silver veil, the purple sparks flared up, burning intensely. Centered on Wang Lin's finger, the flames spread wildly in all directions. The veil seemed as fragile as paper, and once ignited, it burned ferociously. In almost no time at all, the purple flames had spread from top to bottom, engulfing everything. After 3 breaths, the flames descended from the sky, leaving a circle of purple scorch marks within a 10-mile radius. This circle marked the boundary of the silver veil that had confined Wang Lin. Wang Lin's gaze was cold, filled with a chilling intent. His primary concern now was to return to the Tianyun sect, but in this unfamiliar land, he had no idea which direction to go. His eyes flashed, and he slapped his storage pouch with his right hand. Immediately, a soul banner appeared in his grasp. With a shake, a primordial soul flew out from it. "Chao-Ido," Wang Lin said indifferently. The primordial soul trembled, opened its eyes in confusion, and then looked around. As it scanned the surroundings, its eyes gradually grew brighter, focusing intently. This is Tianyun Star," the primordial soul exclaimed in shock. Chao-Ido was the person Wang Lin had recruited when he visited the Corpsine sect. Since Wang Lin was unfamiliar with Tianyun Star, he had easily gotten lost. When he learned that Chao-Ido was from this star, he made a deal with him, promising to find him a body in the infant metamorphosis stage in exchange for Chao-Ido's willing service as a guide on Tianyun Star. "Chao-Ido, do you know the way to Tianyun sect from here?" Wang Lin immediately asked. Chao-Ido fell into deep thought. Pointing west with his right hand, he said, "The Tianyun sect's mountain gate is about 300,000 miles to the west." Wang Lin looked in the direction Chao-Ido indicated. His eyes flashed, and he absorbed Chao-Ido into the soul banner. Then, he sped off like a streak of lightning, moving at incredible speed. Wang Lin's speed reached its limit. Along the way, the rumble of thunder echoed endlessly, and the sound of air being torn apart filled the air. Wang Lin turned into a violet rainbow, soaring through the sky at his fastest pace, heading towards the Tianyun sect. As he flew, Wang Lin's eyes grew colder. Ever since entering the Tianyun sect, the people of the violet lineage had been constantly at odds with him. Wang Lin had endured, and finally made a slight show of strength, causing a shift in the situation. But Zhao Xingsha and others had used external forces to suppress him, forcibly shifting him out of the violet sect and trapping him in the stone forest. Had it not been for his breakthrough in cultivation and his acquisition of large amounts of Immortal Jade, he might have been trapped for years. If that happened, by the time he was freed, his fate would be out of his hands, completely controlled by others. I, Wang Lin, act with principle. If no one offends me, I will not offend them. But if someone offends me, I will kill them. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with cold light. With a flash, he teleported away. As he continued on his journey, occasionally teleporting to cover the distance, Wang Lin finally saw the Tianyun sect in the afternoon of the following day. At this moment, inside the Tianyun sect, it was bustling with activity. The sounds of people and celebrations filled the air. On the mountains of the 7 sects, there were feasts everywhere, with abundant spirit wines and immortal fruits. After the 7-day longevity banquet, it would be Tianyunzi's Dao lecture day, followed by the moment when the violet and yellow sects would vie for the titles of the 7 children of heavenly destiny. This series of events would bring the month-long celebration to its peak. On Violet Sect Mountain, at the summit, large amounts of white clouds had been summoned by powerful magical techniques, appearing as solid as the earth itself. From afar, the entire mountain was covered by a vast expanse of white clouds that seemed to be from an immortal realm. On these clouds, There were tables and benches, with many disciples of the Violet sect serving guests. All those attending the banquet at Violet sect were local sects from Tianyun Star. Although there were some with high cultivation, they were few in number, and overall, their sects were at the bottom of Tianyun Star's power structure. Therefore, they could only sit at the Violet sect's feast. At the feast on the clouds above Violet sect mountain, Zhao Xingsha, the eldest senior brother of the Violet lineage, naturally sat at the head of the table. To his right were second senior brother, a middle-aged man, third senior sister Bai Wei, fourth senior sister, a woman in the late infant metamorphosis stage, and then 3 empty tables. Fifth brother was punished with closed-door meditation. Sixth brother had gone out and had not returned, and seventh brother Wang Lin was no longer present. Therefore, these 3 vacant seats remained. To the left of Zhao Xingsha sat 6 elders, each dressed differently. These 6 individuals were the first elders of the 6 sects of the Destiny Star. Among them, the lowest cultivation had reached the early stage of the Ascendancy realm, while the highest had already achieved the late stage of the Ascendancy realm, with great perfection. Despite this, these 6 could only sit here due to the relatively small influence of their sections. Today marks the 7th day of our Master's 10,000-year longevity banquet. Tomorrow, our Master will begin his Tao lecture. If my Violet sect has been lacking in hospitality these past days, I ask for your understanding. Zhao Xingsha rose with a smile, holding a wine cup. He raised it in salute to the air and drank it down in one gulp. Although Zhao Xingsha's voice was calm, its transmission was clear enough for anyone within 100 miles to hear. Those gathered around the tables all picked up their wine cups and toasted one another. At that moment, suddenly a violet rainbow shot across the sky from the distant horizon, its purple aura arriving from the east, heading straight toward them.